those agitators, I wish they would go a whole day and emasculate themselves. I had to complete that because I told you a few weeks ago, Paul was sarcastic about that, and I saw skepticism there. Second issue, very quickly, is faith. And I just want to say this about faith. How do you live then? How does a righteous person live? If the way we live doesn't affect our righteousness, if what you do doesn't make you less or more righteous before God, then why does it matter how we live? How are we called to live? Paul says very clearly, the righteous live by faith. Not by the works they do, but by faith. And faith is essentially, to put it as simple and quickly as I can, faith is learning to discern God's voice and walk in obedience to Him. Amen. Faith is learning to hear what God says is true and believe it for yourself. Faith is learning to think the way God thinks to the degree that we're capable in our finite minds. Faith is learning to believe what God says is true and discard the rest. It's a process. There's an intention to it, but it's a process. Faith means making mistakes and returning to them. Faith means getting it right and returning to them. I want you to think about this. Let's make it really simple and really clear. Because I think this is such a simple thing, and you're all going to agree with it, but most of us don't do this most of the time when we get in trouble. Faith comes down to this simple. You want to know whether the action that you're about to, the place that you are is one of faith or not one of faith. Sometimes we get thrown into complete confusion like that. Because that's his job. That's what he does well. And we get thrown into complete confusion by the devil. And we're trying to figure out if God still loves us, or if he doesn't, if we're doing the right thing, or if we're not, if the sin was a problem or not. We're trying to figure out where we go with that. And there's often a point that comes down to one crossroads, and it's really simple if you'll just bear this in mind. It is always the wrong answer. Always. 100% of the time. It is the wrong answer if you're moving away from God. Now, here's what I mean by this. Sometimes we've sinned, and we feel guilty, and we don't go to God. Because we think we don't deserve to. Because we think God doesn't love us. Because we think God isn't calling to us. And we think that it's somehow more holy and righteous and repentant to not move towards God. It is 100% of the time wrong. It is 100% of the time not God's plan for your life, for you to move away from Him, to avoid Him, to run from Him, hide from Him. Ever. There is never a moment in which God says to you, oh, that was it, just give me some space. Right? There's never a moment in which God says, I'll forgive you, but I just can't let you go. We do that. It does not. There's never a moment in which God is there, ever. No matter how far you run from God, the cool thing about God is no matter how far you run, when you turn around, He's always right behind you with His arms open. Always. No matter how far down the pit you fall, when you look up, He is right there with His hand, right there ready to lift you. Always. It is always wrong to move from God. It is always right to move towards Him. That's the bottom line of faith. You may be doing everything wrong, and you think it's hypocritical for me to approach God at all because I can't stop sinning. I'm sinning all the time. And what God would say to you is, walking away from me will never help. You keep pressing on to me. God says, I'd rather have you come to me in the midst of your sin than walk away from me under some illusion that the fellowship that I have bought for you is no longer valuable. You will feel separated from God when you sin, because God cannot share that sin with you in common. But the fellowship with God was bought by the blood of Christ, and you cannot tear that away any more than anyone else can. Faith. Just keep going back to God. If you say, what is faith? I just say, just keep going back to God. Just keep going back. It means pressing on when we don't see fruit. We've had a lot of service projects over the year, and some of them we haven't always seen the fruit for as we've done them. Faith is doing them anyway. I had an experience this last week, shared the gospel with somebody that I knew when I went to share with them. It was this crazy idea. Because they're not their favorite person, and I wasn't sure it worked well. And it did. They like me even less now. And because my father-in-law has family dynamics. coming back from that trip, I was thinking that was kind of interesting. I didn't know how that was. That was kind of interesting. I don't know what that means. Got back the next day, and my father-in-law called my wife and said, "Your husband is a nut. I don't know if I'm going to see him again. He's not welcome to my house now." And I said, "God, what in the world? I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go. This was not my plan, God." My wife said that I won't buy her tongue. She said, "Good job, God." My wife is very nice. But you know what? It's faith. It's faith. Faith is you do what God tells you to do, and if the fruit isn't what you expected, you've got to trust God. Amen? Got a lot I can say about that. Last thing is, I just want to promo one or two more things here real quick. Real Western Lifestyle, I want to support you as you reach your neighborhood. Speaking of service events, we have a new kind of harvest festival. This is so cool. It's right up Lifesong's alley, and we need some volunteers for this. If you guys want to do it, what it is we will provide kits for you to have a harvest party, a little mini one right on your driveway. Rather than inviting people to come to a different building, those of you for whom kids already come to your house on Halloween, it's great. I love proselytizing people who come to you. So anyway, rather than going out to them, as they come to your house, we'll provide you with a kit of games they can actually play in your driveway. Things they can do right there as they're standing there if they want to. Treats that you can give them and tracts that you can pass on as well. It's a harvest party that they already are coming to without being invited. How cool is that? So we want to just do it in as many houses as are interested. Okay, if you have a house and you want to host one of these things, let us know. We will get you the materials, because that's our plan for this year, for Real West and Lifesong both. I think it's great. I love it. We as a church want to support you in reaching your neighborhood, and I think this is a great way to do it. I want to give you one more promo here.